Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name's Molly. Oh, and we've got a little visitor. This is Figaro, also, who's making an appearance. Anyway, while Figaro's doing his thing, today I'm going to be reacting to another band this is a first time reaction for me, and that is Tool. Now, of course, I know who Tool is, I know of them, and I actually do know one of their songs quite well. You probably will be able to easily guess what song that is, and that is Schism by Figaro. And that is because, of course, that is a song that has been played repeatedly on the radio in many different radio stations over the last couple of decades. So I'm very familiar with that song, but I'm really not familiar with any of their other pieces. I never sat down and tried to listen to any of their albums or tried to get into them overall. I actually have a couple friends that are really into Tool, but I don't know, I just never really took the time to listen to some of their other stuff, which is kind of funny because I actually do like the song Schism. I don't know. But yeah, so as you guys know, I've been doing some music reactions for a couple of months now, still kind of fairly new to it, and it was recommended to me that maybe I should check out some Tool songs by one of my friends who is a fan of them. So I'm going to be doing that for the first time today, and the first song I'm going to be reacting to, which was, again, specifically recommended to me, is Pneuma. So I don't really know what to expect other than, Tool. They have a general sound, right? So Schism, I guess, is kind of sort of representative of that, but I'm gonna be honest, guys, I don't really know too much. But that's kind of what I'm expecting, somewhat along those lines. Please do forgive me, like I said, I don't really know much at all going into this about the band or their particular history, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna check it out together. So if you do like this, I do appreciate if you subscribe or like the video, comments, anything like that does help. I know people don't always necessarily like hearing that, and it's weird saying it too, but it does help the channel, helps it grow. And yeah, so let's check this video out together. Here we go. Ooh. Oh, it's long. It's over 11 minutes, wow. So this should be interesting. Alright, so this video is just like the album cover, so I guess it's just gonna be the song performance. That's alright, that's kinda cool. Maybe I won't have stuff distracting me. Some interesting sounds there. Those sounds. I'm curious what that instrument is, how they're making that. It almost reminds me of bug noises. Does that make sense? Is it just the particular way they're strumming? Mm. Ooh. It's funny, they're playing with tempos, so it kind of feels a little off, but in a cool way. It's startling. That is a vocalist. Vocals don't come in until a couple minutes in.
Bound to this flesh.
The funny thing is the riff sounds very similar to the riff in Schism. But the slight difference in the tempo. I like the whisper.
One breath, one word, one spark, sun becoming.
The drumming is awesome. Okay, that feels cool. That transition felt cool. I tried to turn it up.
Child, wake up. Child, release the
Did he
light.
say, is he saying wake up child?
Child, wake up.
I think so.
Child, release the light.
Ooh, look at that deep.
Now, child. About you, this flesh, this guise, this mask, this dream. Wake up, remember, we are born out of one breath, one word. We are all one spark, sun becoming.
Ooh, yes. The build-up. The drumming might be the best part. Ooh, there comes it. It's like it's picking at my heart. It's gonna build up again and hit me. It's very psychedelic sounding, the electronic. hypnotized or something, you know? Like, I can imagine a bunch of people listening to this in an arena just kind of swaying along, like trying to get a handle on the beat, but it's so changing. Here it comes. Drumming! Tempo changes, man. Kinda good.
Reach out beyond. Wake up, remember, we are born out of one breath, one word. We are all one spark, eyes full of wonder.
The lyrics are very interesting. I want to like look up the lyrics to get a better sense of what they're saying. It's back to that picking. Ooh. Ah. All right. Okay. That was something. I have to just start off by saying that this is very, very different from any other kind of musical piece or, I mean, really any other performers that I have reacted to as of yet on this channel. Um, for one thing, most of my reactions, most of what I do react to, at least so far, most of the time they've been live performances. Now, there's been some that haven't. So I've done some like reactions to certain Pentatonix pieces and Jeff Castellucci, who they're very, very much staged in place, and the editing and the kind of acting performance around it is just as essential to the overall experience as the song itself, if that makes sense. But most of the time, most of what I react to are live performances. And so this is very different from that in that it's not a live performance, but also there was no accompanying video. Like it wasn't a music video either. That was like what I was looking at the entire time was an album cover. So it was really the most kind of immersive just in the song itself kind of experience of any of the reactions I've done so far, because that was really all that there was to focus on, was either looking at the album cover, which to be honest seemed like a pretty appropriate visual for the kind of feelings that were being brought up in the song. But pretty much the only thing to focus on was the song itself, which I'm sure I could feel myself closing my eyes and kind of just trying to focus in quite a bit throughout. So I mean that kind of makes sense to me since there wasn't really anything to be focused on visually. And then the other thing that is very different about this from most of the songs that I have so far reacted to, or even in general, most of the songs that I tend to listen to, is while there were vocals and the vocal performance was important to it, it seemed, and the lyrics were important to it, to the story that was being told or presented, this was mostly an instrumental song. And again, that's very different from what I'm used to reacting to here on this channel. Most of the time, the vocal performance itself is central to what I'm reacting to. Partially because a lot of the groups I react to are a cappella groups or a cappella performers who are highlighting, or performers like Dimash who are specifically highlighting what they're capable of doing with their voice. And the vocal performance is kind of really the focal point, the centerpiece of the song. And in this case, clearly, like I said, the lyrics and the singing is important to the song as a whole. And I really want to look into the lyrics more because I didn't get all of them, but the ones I were getting were very interesting and cool. The actual music itself is clearly what's driving this. Particularly, it seemed the drumming and the drummer. That was really crazy. It was a crazy performance, and it was kind of hypnotizing. Which to me, one thing that I find impressive about this is it was hypnotizing in such a way that, like I said, I talked about feeling as though I could picture myself in an audience full of people listening to this sort of thing happening live and just kind of like getting caught up in it, like moving your body in a way that you didn't really understand what you were doing. It was kind of beyond your control. But it managed to be that way, hypnotizing, at the same time as it wasn't sticking with one tempo to the composition of the song or even one basic beat. You know, a lot of the time if people talk about feeling like they're hypnotized in a song or that they're completely encapsulated in it, particularly if it's an instrumental one, it's because there's always like an underlying kind of straightforward beat that's following the same pattern that you get kind of caught up in and captured by that. But this is kind of the opposite of that, right? Because you had those changes of the tempo. You had, I mean, completely changed. And so you would kind of feel like you were getting caught up in it, but what you were getting caught up in wasn't a simple beat that you could follow. So I kept like trying to sway in a certain way, and then it would come out to be different. And I'd feel like my body was like jerking somewhat, you know? The same thing if I was trying to drum along. And I think so that's one of the things that is particularly interesting about the experience of listening to this song for me and kind of feeling being in this performance, this song, is that you feel like you're being caught up in it. You feel the need, like it's possessing you, that you need to sway and move around to it, to the beat. It's that hypnotic in that way of some songs are. But the way that it's kind of hypnotizing you is a way that you're almost like being jerked. And okay, I don't know if this is a good comparison, but kind of like the sensation of if you're falling asleep and you're getting into this rhythm and then suddenly your body just jerks. You have kind of like a jerk awake startling moment, kind of almost like that happening repeatedly at different times throughout the course of the song is almost the feeling that it kind of brings out, which is really cool, which is a very, very different from what you're used to. I think I was sort of right going into it and saying that I think there's kind of like a Tool sound that I was kind of expecting, and you guys will have to give me suggestions for other songs if this is not the case. If there are other songs of theirs that feel very different, where it's not like, oh, this is obviously a Tool song. But I would say, like, the riff in some places and kind of the feel of it overall did remind me of the one Tool song that I kind of, the only one that I really know, being Schism. But obviously, it was also very different than that in other ways. So it's one of those situations where it seems to me like maybe Tool is one of those bands where if you hear them, you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's Tool. This sounds like Tool. But yeah, I still, like I said, I want to go back and look at the lyrics while listening to it again so I can have a clearer understanding of what it was about. But some of the things in the wake up and kind of makes me wonder about what I just said in terms of the jerking awake sensation, and that I don't know, maybe I've got something going on here. I'll have to look up the lyrics to see if I'm completely wildly off base or if what I'm saying makes sense at all. But all right, this has gotten to be kind of a long reaction video because this was kind of a long song. But so I think I'm gonna wrap this up here, guys. Again, for those of you that are new, one thing you probably noticed is that it didn't stop the song at any point. A lot of reactors, they stop the songs, chop them up, and then have moments in between where they talk. I don't really like to do that. I like to listen to the whole thing through. That's just kind of like a more enjoyable for me in terms of, especially if it's the first time that I'm hearing a song, I want to hear it the whole presentation without being broken up in that way. And sometimes that does lead to more copyright issues, and I kind of have to struggle with the editing to get things put up. But hopefully that won't be the case here. But yeah, so in case you were wondering, that's the reason that I do things like that. But all right, yes, gonna wrap this up here now, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you next time. And of course, if you have recommendations for me, do put them in the comments below. Bye.